My name is Elise Harper, and I used to think trust was the glue that held life together, love, friendship, family, all of it. I believed that if you gave your heart to someone, they'd guard it as fiercely as you did. But at 34, I learned the hard way that trust can be a house of cards, toppled by the people you'd bet your life on. This is my story, one I carried like a stone in my chest for years, until I turned that weight into something sharp, deliberate, and, in the end, profoundly satisfying. I'm telling it now because I want you to know that betrayal doesn't have to be the end of you. It can be the fire that forges you into something unbreakable, if you choose to wield it. I'm a project manager at a mid-sized marketing firm in Seattle, the kind of person who lives for the hum of a well-run project, for color-coded spreadsheets and the quiet thrill of a deadline met. My life, at least on the surface, was one I'd built with care, a cozy apartment in Belltown with a view of Puget Sound, where the water shimmered like liquid silver under the morning fog, a circle of colleagues who respected my hustle, and a best friend, Mia Caldwell, who'd been my anchor since our college days at the University of Washington. Mia was more than a friend, she was the sister I never had, the one who knew every crack in my heart. We'd spent countless nights sprawled on my thrift store couch, splitting bottles of cheap Pinot Grigio, laughing until tears streaked our faces, dreaming up futures where we'd conquer the world together. She was there when my mom got sick, holding my hand through late-night hospital visits. She helped me lug boxes into my first apartment, her laughter echoing off the empty walls. I trusted her with every piece of me. That was my first mistake. The cracks started small, so faint I barely noticed. Mia began flaking on our plans, girls' nights cancelled with vague texts about work or exhaustion. Her replies grew clipped, her calls rarer. I told myself it was just life. She'd landed a freelance gig as a graphic designer at my firm. And she'd started dating Derek, a slick real estate agent with a smile that could charm a snake. Derek was all flash, tailored suits, a Rolex he couldn't quite afford, and a knack for making you feel like you were the only person in the room. I didn't love him, but Mia did, and I loved her, so I smiled through his stories and ignored the way his eyes lingered too long on everyone but her. I figured she was busy, maybe caught up in the whirlwind of a new relationship. I didn't see the storm coming. It hit on a rainy Tuesday in March, the kind of Seattle day where the sky is a bruise and the air smells of wet pavement and coffee. I was at my desk, sipping a latte from the cafe downstairs, when my phone buzzed with a message from Sarah, a colleague I'd bonded with over late-night project crunches. Her message was simple: "Elise, I'm so sorry. I thought you should know." Attached was a screenshot that made my blood run cold. It was from Mia's Instagram, a post she'd made public by mistake before deleting it. The photo showed her and Derek, arms entwined, standing in front of a sleek condo with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the Space Needle. The caption read, "Celebrating our new home and a promotion well earned. #PowerCouple #New Beginnings." My heart stopped. That condo was mine. Or it was supposed to be. 6 months earlier, I'd sat cross-legged on my couch, showing Mia the listing for that exact condo, a corner unit in a new downtown building, with hardwood floors and a balcony perfect for morning coffee. I'd saved for years, scraping together every bonus, every tax refund, to afford it. I'd shared every detail with her, the realtor's name, my budget, even my plan to bid aggressively. Mia had hugged me, her eyes bright with excitement, promising to help me pick out curtains and throw pillows. She'd been my cheerleader, or so I thought. Instead, she'd taken my dream and handed it to Derek, who worked at the same real estate firm as my realtor. They'd outbid me at the last second, using insider information to steal the place I'd poured my heart into. But the condo wasn't the worst of it. The promotion Mia bragged about? That was mine too. I'd been gunning for a senior project manager role at work, a step up that would have meant more responsibility, a bigger paycheck, and a chance to lead campaigns I'd only dreamed of. I'd put in months of overtime, pitching ideas, staying late to polish presentations. Mia knew how much it meant to me. She'd listened to me rehearse my pitch over pizza, nodding and cheering me on. But while I was working, she was scheming. As a freelancer at our firm, she'd cozied up to our boss, spinning a sob story about needing stability to afford her new life with Derek. She'd claimed credit for projects I'd led, exaggerating her role until our boss handed her the full-time position I'd earned. My hands shook as I closed the screenshot. Rain streaked the office windows, mirroring the chaos in my head. I didn't cry, not yet, but something inside me shattered, like glass under too much pressure. The weeks that followed were a haze of rage, grief, and disbelief. I stopped answering Mia's texts, her fake "how you doing?" messages that felt like knives. I'd lie awake in my apartment, the city's glow filtering through my blinds, replaying every moment we'd shared. Had she always been this way? Had I been too naive to see it? The betrayal wasn't just the condo or the job. It was the way she'd taken my trust, my dreams, and twisted them into stepping stones for her own life. I felt like a fool, and that hurt more than anything. I'd walk along the waterfront at Pike Place Market, the salty air stinging my face, watching tourists toss fish and wondering how I'd missed the signs. Mia's laughter, her hugs, her promises, had they all been lies? I'd sit in coffee shops, staring at my laptop, unable to focus, my chest tight with the weight of it all. I started avoiding places we used to go together. The little ramen shop in Capitol Hill, where we'd slurp noodles and gossip about coworkers, felt haunted. The bookstore in Pioneer Square, where we'd spend hours flipping through novels and sipping overpriced chai, now made my stomach churn. I'd see her face in every crowd, her laugh in every echo. I stopped posting on social media, afraid she'd see my pain and gloat. My colleagues noticed the change. Sarah would bring me coffee, asking gently if I was okay, but I'd just smile and say I was fine. I wasn't. I was drowning in questions. Why did she do it? Was our friendship ever real? Did I mean nothing to her? The answers didn't come, and the silence was deafening. But one night, as I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, the ferries gliding across Puget Sound like ghosts in the dark, I made a choice. I wasn't going to let Mia win. I wasn't going to be the sad girl in this story, the one who fades into the background while her betrayer thrives. I was going to take back my power, and I was going to do it with the same precision I brought to my work. Revenge, I decided, wasn't about screaming or fighting. It was about strategy. About hitting Mia where it hurt most, her ego, her reputation, the perfect little life she'd built on my ruins. I started with research. I'm a project manager, I know how to break a problem into pieces and solve it. I dug into Mia's life like it was a campaign I needed to dissect. Her social media was a goldmine, LinkedIn, Instagram, even her old Pinterest boards. I noticed patterns. Mia thrived on attention, craving likes, comments, and the envy of others. Her entire identity was built on being seen as successful, glamorous, untouchable. That was her Achilles heel, and I'd exploit it. I also knew her weaknesses from years of friendship, her impulsiveness, her need to be the center of attention, her tendency to cut corners when she thought no one was looking. I'd use all of it. My plan took shape over weeks, each step mapped out like a project timeline. First, I needed to expose her at work without implicating myself. Mia's new role relied on a portfolio she'd padded with projects she'd barely touched, many of them mine. I combed through old emails, finding proof, my initial drafts of campaign ideas, timestamps showing I'd done the work, meeting notes where Mia took credit for my concepts. I compiled it all into a detailed, anonymous report and sent it to our HR department, framing it as a concerned employee worried about fairness. I didn't stop there. I knew Mia and Derek's condo purchase was shady. Derek had bragged to a mutual friend about working the system to get the deal. A little digging revealed they'd falsified parts of their loan application, inflating Mia's freelance income to qualify for a mortgage they couldn't afford. I sent an anonymous tip to the bank, attaching public records of Mia's actual earnings from tax filings she'd carelessly posted about online. It wasn't illegal, what I did, but it was enough to spark an audit that would make their lives hell. I didn't stop at the professional and financial hits. Mia's social life was her oxygen, and I knew how to cut it off. She'd always been obsessed with her image, curating every post to look effortless yet enviable. I remembered a side hustle she'd bragged about, a consulting gig where she charged small businesses for design advice she'd cribbed from online tutorials. She'd never declared the income, a fact she'd let slip during one of our wine-fueled nights. I sent another anonymous tip, this time to the IRS, with enough details to prompt a review of her taxes. It wasn't about ruining her life, it was about letting her own choices catch up to her. The final piece was the most intricate and, honestly, the most satisfying. Mia loved throwing lavish parties, showing off her perfect life to anyone who'd clap. She'd planned a housewarming for the condo, inviting half our industry to admire her stolen prize. The venue was her new home, decked out with fairy lights and overpriced charcuterie boards, a stage for her to play the queen. I saw my opening. Using a burner email, I created a fake Instagram account under the name Seattle-style blogger, crafting a believable persona with a modest following of bot accounts I'd purchased for pennies. I messaged Mia, gushing about her taste, begging to feature her party on my blog. She ate it up, responding within minutes with photos of her decor, her menu, even her planned outfit, a slinky gold dress she thought screamed sophistication. I fed her ego, asking for more details, keeping her hooked. Then, I accidentally leaked the party details to a local gossip page, Seattle Spill, known for exposing influencers and their shady deals. I included a tip: check out Mia Caldwell's new condo. How does a freelancer afford $1 million view? And that promotion? Ask her boss about her portfolio. I knew the page's followers, industry insiders, nosy locals, and drama-hungry randos, would eat it up. I also tipped off a few key colleagues anonymously, planting seeds of doubt about Mia's credentials. To add a final touch, I hacked together a simple script to amplify the gossip page's post, using a few bots to boost its visibility. By the time Mia's party rolled around, the story was spreading like wildfire. The night of the housewarming, I stayed home, curled up on my couch with a cup of chamomile tea, watching the chaos unfold online. Seattle Spill's post went viral, with comments piling up. Wait, isn't that Elise Harper's condo she was bidding on? How'd she get that job? I heard she lied about her work. Guests started canceling, texting Mia flimsy excuses. Those who showed up live tweeted the awkwardness, Mia's forced smiles as she poured champagne, Derek's nervous pacing by the balcony, whispers about an HR investigation circling the room. By midnight, the hashtag Mia mess was trending locally, with memes and screenshots of Mia's deleted Instagram post making the rounds. I sipped my tea, feeling a quiet thrill as her perfect facade cracked. The fallout was swift and brutal. The next morning, Sarah called me, her voice buzzing with gossip. Mia had been put on leave pending a review of her portfolio, and our boss was furious about the discrepancies. The bank had frozen Mia and Derek's loan, demanding proof of income they couldn't provide. Derek, livid, was blaming Mia for dragging him into the mess. Their power couple image imploding. Seattle Spill kept the story alive, digging into Mia's past projects and exposing more lies. Her reputation in our industry, her lifeblood, was in tatters. She tried to save face, posting a tearful Instagram story about misunderstandings, but the damage was done. No one believed her anymore. The IRS audit notice arrived a week later, a final nail in the coffin of her carefully curated life. I won't pretend it didn't feel good. It wasn't the vicious, gloating kind of good, but the steady, grounded kind, like stepping into sunlight after a long winter. I didn't need to confront Mia or scream in her face. I'd let her own lies unravel her, using the tools she valued most, attention, perception, validation, against her. Over the next few months, I turned inward, rebuilding my life piece by piece. I landed a better job at a rival firm, one that saw my worth and gave me creative control over campaigns I loved. I saved up again, bought a new condo, this one better, with a wraparound balcony overlooking the Olympic Mountains, where I'd watch the sunset paint the sky in pinks and golds. I made new friends, ones who celebrated my wins without envy, who didn't see my dreams as opportunities to steal. Mia faded from my life like a bad dream. Last I heard, she'd moved to Portland, chasing a fresh start after Derek left her. I didn't care enough to check. I spent a lot of time reflecting on what happened, sitting in my new home with its wide windows and the scent of fresh paint, listening to the hum of the city below. Mia's betrayal wasn't just about a condo or a job. It was about the violation of a bond I thought was sacred. It made me question everything, my judgment, my worth, my ability to trust again. But as I rebuilt, I realized something crucial: trust is valuable, but it's not the foundation of who you are. You are. Your resilience, your grit, your ability to rise from the ashes of someone else's betrayal. That's what defines you. Mia took pieces of my life. But she couldn't take my strength. No one can. If you're listening to this, maybe you've been where I was. Maybe you're sitting in a quiet room, staring at the wreckage of a friendship, a relationship, a trust you thought was unbreakable. Maybe your heart feels like it's been carved out, and you're wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. You will, but don't wait for the person who hurt you to make it right. Don't wait for their apology, their guilt, or their redemption. They don't get to write the end of your story. You do. Pick up the pieces, even if they're sharp, even if they cut. Build something new, something better, something that's yours. And when you do, you'll find a strength you never knew you had, a fire that burns brighter than any betrayal. That's the lesson I carry now, and it's the one I pass to you. Your worth isn't defined by the people who break you. It's defined by the person you become when you rise.